Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair fishing / ice report. It is Thursday, January 27th, and trying to wait as long as I could to do the report this week just because I was hoping we might get some skim last night, but the wind is not playing nice. Water temp at Belle Isle is 34 frigid degrees right now, and that is really cold for a lake temp, and that's because we've had basically just flat 32 degrees for about 2 weeks, and the highs have been 32 and the lows have been 32, and that's all it's been. It's been like 32. It's been pretty crazy that the highs and the lows have been pretty much, I mean, they haven't actually been 32 and 32, but I mean, it's been like within 5 degrees between daytime highs and nighttime lows because it's just been so darn just cloudy and just blah. Anyways, if you are an ice fisherman, you should be getting excited because the forecast going forward looks really good. So, I mean, like really good. We've got like 5 nights coming after we get through these couple of clippers going through in the next 48 hours. That are going to be single-digit lows and highs around 20. So we are going to make ice next week. And I'm hoping that by this time next week, going into next weekend, you're going to have a lot of ice fishing opportunities. With those kind of temperatures and with the lack of wind that is forecasted, we should be making a lot of ice all next week. And we should have ice in a lot of places, even main lake ice, going into next weekend. So if you put your ice fishing stuff away, you better get it back out. Find that spud bar, or maybe even get the auger, because I think we're going to have pretty significant ice forming all next week. So with that said, we'll talk a little bit about what has been going on, and mostly it's been guys fishing open water. I know one of our guys, Joe Bauer, was out with another friend, Tony Yancey, and they were down there on the south end during the snowstorm, and man, did they get some beautiful wallies. A monster muskie that was 49 inches long, or roughly 49, and had like a 26-inch girth. And so that was just an absolute beast. And I think if you run the calculations on that, it's going to be around 38 to 40 pounds. I mean, this time of the year it could be a 40-pounder because, I mean, they're just so fat this time of the year. It's pretty incredible. The wallies were in like the 29-inch class, which pushed those right around 10 pounds. And then they got a beautiful 5-pound smallie to boot, which, you know, that smallie must have been like in hyperdrive to chase those cranks at this time of the year, but he did, especially with like 34, 35 degree water. But I mean, sometimes these fish will really surprise you with the giddy up and go that they can muster when they want to feed. So now also let's talk open water a little bit more. The spillway action has still been going. Muskies down there, Mike Coleman is still catching skis, and it hadn't skimmed over as of yet this morning. So today, the next couple of days may be your last couple of days here to cast in that spillway, because it's going to lock up too once we get those single-digit lows. It always does. So if you need to get down there and give it a shot, now would be the time. And also, there's been some big northerns coming out of that spillway area too, and also walleye. If you go back and you look, Jay got that 10-pounder, I think by the mouth of the spillway, and he just weighed in a big northern that was caught on the spillway as well. So there's definitely a lot of toothy critters around that spillway, and a lot of it's because of these big shad that are in there right now. They get attracted to the relatively warm outflow coming out of the spillway and all that nutrient-rich water. And that's what I'm going to call it, nutrient-rich. You guys can make your comments about it. But anyways, it's going to attracts a lot of bait fish. It attracts freshwater shrimp, which I've shown in previous videos. So there's a lot of life around that spillway, which means there's going to be a lot of predator fish too. And I know there's a lot of perch around there too as well, which you guys will be able to take advantage of once it hopefully freezes over enough that we can get on it and walk on it. So anyways, that's enough about the spillway action. Trevor has been still out running around scooting on some of that really sketchy ice that's been left, and he's still been catching a lot of fish. They've also been taking a lot of fish behind the little store at Selfridge, and that ice became completely unwalkable last week. but it's really firming up now. And so now I guess I'll switch this over and we'll talk a little bit about the ice or lack thereof report. So I did do a little drive this morning real early. Like I said, that was one of the reasons why I was trying to hold off on this report. Drove through Metro, starting to freeze up in the back of the marsh. Didn't really take any pictures there yet. The marina areas are still wide open, but those will freeze up very quick once we get into those single-digit lows. So that may be some of the first new ice that you'll be able to walk on maybe by middle towards the end of next week, even before the weekend. That's going to lock up pretty quick. The crazy part is, though, with the conditions that they're forecasting, everything could lock up all at the same time. So you could end up with lake ice and the backwater ice virtually locking up at exactly the same time, but we'll see how it actually all plays out. The wind is the huge factor in that. So Metro is starting to lock up back in the marsh area again, but I don't expect any major ice formation until we get into like Monday night, Tuesday night on that. That's pretty much the same going all the way up to the north. I mean, there's no ice other than the backs of the canals where the wind and the wave action and current flow can't or couldn't get at that ice. So some of those areas like behind the little store by Selfridge that held the ice, that stuff will be walkable, or guys will be on it, I would imagine, pretty quick, maybe within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm not saying it's going to be safe ice. I'm just saying the guys, I'm sure, are going to be on it because that ice really just needed to firm up. The snow that we got did not do anything onto that existing ice that was left because it was so heavy. It weighted that ice down. The water flowed up on top and it refroze. So as you'll see from the photo or the video, that ice back there is it's just gray ice, so it's all refroze. The boat launch at Selfridge was freezing up as I was there today. So that boat launch area is going to thicken up, and that'll be another area that you'll be able to get on sooner than everything else because it's already starting to freeze up, and there's nothing in the forecast that's going to unfreeze that in the next 48 hours. So I would expect that that's just going to keep getting thicker, and you'll be able to get on that pretty quick as well. Heading up to the north, pretty much open all the way, other than some of the canals, some of the dead-end canals like that Scuba Canal as you're going north up there, and some of the other ones that are just completely dead ends. Those still had ice in them, so those will also be thick enough to get on sooner than everything else. The raft was gone. There was no ice there. There was no ice up in Fairhaven by the boat launch. Nothing out in front of that whole shoreline there was completely wide open, and the wind was blowing in on it when I was up there this morning, which means that it was waves coming in, which is going to dirty that water up depending on how long it keeps blowing. But once we get into the middle part of next week, it's not going to matter anymore. I think everything's going to cap off, the wind's going to lay down, and everything's going to clean up relatively quickly, and you guys are going to have some great fishing opportunities next weekend. So we'll have to wait and see. Nothing is ever for sure, especially with the winds, but based on those cold temps, I think it's going to happen. It's just going to be a matter of time next week. So I know guys have been going over to Simcoe. They are catching fish over at Simcoe. And the ice conditions were improving over there, and I hadn't looked at the forecast for over there, but I would imagine if we're going to have single-digit lows all next week, they're going to have sub-zero lows over there, and it looked like it was even a colder pattern off to the east, and so they're going to be making some good ice over there, and I know from the guys I talked to, I think they were able to go pretty much everywhere except over by Snake, because it was still open there, but even that's going to freeze up for you guys that are familiar with the area. So with those kind of temps, everything is going to lock up over there. So if you really need to scratch that Simcoe itch, it looks like you could go right now, or even by next weekend, it's even going to be thicker yet over there with even more opportunities. So I guess that's all I've got for you this week. Hopefully I'll be able to get a report in next week, but I'm definitely going to be waiting until things lock up so that I have a lot more of an ice report to give you. We've still got more stuff coming into the store now, kind of a little restock now that we're pretty confident that we're going to have ice. Some of those hard to get items are going to be even harder to get now this late in the season because those guys up in Minnesota have really sucked in all that inventory. But I was able to get my hands on a couple of the Nils ice saws and some of the replacement blades or heads for the Nils augers. Just very limited numbers of those, but I was able to grab some of those for you guys, and we do have them in at the store right now. So with all that said, we will talk to you next week and look forward to getting on the hard water along with all of you guys. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.